It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set. Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands and around the world on the iHeart Radio application. Download it today. It is free. Again, the Clemson Sports Talk website up and available to you. We'd love to have you join us. Just $63.17 to be a part of what we do over there. That's right. I said it. $63.17. Coming up on the program here in just a little bit, I guess in about 20 minutes or so, we'll be joined by Jared Denny from scoopduck.com, one of our sister sites that covers the Oregon Ducks. Of course, today, the big news in college football and even more so the big news in college athletics is the alliance between the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 that came out. Jared covered that call earlier today, and we'll get his thoughts on the moving and the shaking that is going on in the world of college sports from the left coast perspective out west, Oregon. Of course, they've got mask policies in place, and those mask policies are making their way further and further east. As a matter of fact, landing in the heart of the SEC in Baton Rouge. We'll talk about that here on the program this afternoon as well. But what has been deemed a potentially historic alliance between the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 has been announced. And according to reports, the Pac-12, and this is part of the reason that I wanted to get up with Jared from scoopduck.com, is the fact that the Pac-12 has been, according to reports, the, quote, most aggressive in forming and encouraging this alliance with the ACC and the Big Ten. That makes a lot of sense to me, just sort of reading the tea leaves of the college football playoff and paying attention to what's been going on that front and how, in a lot of respects, whether it be media bias, whether it be television times, whether it be coverage on the East Coast, the Pac-12 sort of been lost in the conversation in recent years. And really, if you think about the college football playoff from a historical perspective, they have yet to place one of what you would deem the top tier. And again, that should not be taken as offensive to the Oregon folks, but I know they'll take it that way. But they made the college football playoff in year one, and then you have Washington make it. But when I and I hate to say that about Oregon, but that's been a long time. And what we're coming up on now, 7-8 years ago that Oregon was in the college football playoff back in 2014 in the first rendition of the college football playoff. I mean, before we know it, this will be, 8 years now. So 7, I guess, since they've been in at the end of this season, if they don't get in. But you haven't seen Southern Cal there, and they're obviously the biggest name out west. And the league as a whole, when it comes down to the college football playoff, hasn't been a part of it since 2016, 2015. I think if my memory's with me on this one, without looking it up, I can dive right in real quick and tell you. But I think that was the last time that we had the Pac-12 involved. Let's see, 2016. Nope, 17. There it was, Washington and Alabama, 2017 playoff. I believe the last time we had somebody from the left coast involved in it, and it's been so heavy with the ACC with your Clemson Tigers, the SEC with Alabama and Georgia and LSU, and the Big Ten's been there with Ohio State a number of times recently. Notre Dame's made several appearances. Oklahoma, The Pac-12 sort of been vacant for a while now. And of the 7 renditions of the college football playoff, just 2 have featured teams from the Pac-12. So maybe it shouldn't be a surprise that the Pac-12, according to reports, has been the most aggressive in pulling this off. But I will say that in that respect, I think it is a healthy relationship potentially down the road, depending on expansion of the college football playoff, television rights, and ultimately scheduling over the next, 7-8 years after we move past some of these current schedules that we've got in front of us to maybe shift some of the, I don't know if you'd call it power for sure, but I think you certainly would shift some of the conversations about strength of schedule. You could help that significantly by adding a team, maybe even 2 from one of these other leagues. All right, so let's see who's chatting along with us today. Again, the new studio up, rocking and rolling, and we got it rocking and rolling here a couple of days ago. And still working on the backdrop. Got some people putting some things together for us that we're going to get up and on the wall in the brand new studio. But I certainly hope you like it. Kyle's in the house. He is the honey king of the upstate, joining us here on the program. I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to get over to Kyle's honey bee farm, but he's got the honey. He's got the honey. Nick shared the program. Nick, there's a consequence for that. 2-minute penalty, Nick. It's like icing. No, that's not a penalty in hockey. It's like hooking. You can't do that. Stop sharing the show, Nick. Stop. Get control of yourself. Appreciate it, man. And Larry is also in the house. Linda's hanging out as well, according to Larry. So again, thank you all for being a part of the program. 803-450-0086, 803-450-0086 is the number, and always appreciate each and every one of you being a part of the program. Again, Jared Denny from scoopduck.com going to be joining us here in a little bit. We'll also hear some of the comments about this collaboration between these 3 leagues as they come together. And the other thing, too, I saw a tweet that was talking about, and again, I've heard tale that you cannot believe everything on Twitter. So I do not. But I did see something that said that former Bears coach, how do you pronounce his name? Weinstead. Remember? Can't even pronounce his name, so it doesn't do me any good. Weinstead? I can't even spell it, man. What's his name? If anybody can remember his first name, I might can find it. I think he played at Pitt, right? What's his name? Weinstead? What's that dude's name? Bears coaches all time. I'll figure it out now. That's the way I can get it. What's up, Big E? Big E's in the house. Appreciate you, Big E. What is that coach's name? Y'all help me out. Weinstead? Is that how you say it? Here it is. Weinstead? Dave? How do you pronounce this guy's name? Weinstead? Was I saying it right? Wannstedt? Is that how you say it? All right. I'll take your word for it if you're right. So Dave Weinstead, according to someone on Twitter, was talking about a Fox Sports meeting where he heard tale of rumors of West Virginia going to the ACC. I don't know if you saw that information. Oklahoma State and Kansas State to the Pac-12. Iowa State and Kansas going to the Big Ten. He said that he heard that at Fox meetings. I saw that on social media. And again, you can only believe it for so much. But this would beg the theory and support the theory that I brought up weeks ago here on the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk, about the nasty breakup of the remaining 8 teams from the Big 12 and how I felt, and they didn't love it. You go find the tweets. They didn't love it at TCU when I left them high and dry in an expanded college football conference deal. I even found a way to slide Baylor in and Texas Tech in. I'm the guy that left TCU out, and boy, they did not like being left out. But in this scenario, and I'll tell you what, if you're one of those remaining teams in the state of Texas, our buddies over at Sick'em 365 with the Baylor site in our network, if you're a TCU fan, you're a Horned Frog fan, if you're a Red Raider fan, those three teams right now could be the odd people out when it comes down to this expansion deal and where things all go. Because if West Virginia ended up in the ACC, not shocking news. If Iowa State and Kansas end up in the Big Ten, not shocking news. As a matter of fact, with Iowa being in the Big Ten, Iowa State being in the Big Ten makes a ton of sense to me. And I'm going to be honest with you. At that point, if you're Oklahoma State and Kansas State, just be thankful you got somewhere to go. Like, take that spot, because what you don't want to be Kansas State is Oklahoma State and Texas Tech make their way to the Pac-12. Now, again, I don't know if that'll happen. Edward's in the house. He's back in the saddle with us as well. Appreciate you, Edward, for hanging out too. But yeah, this news today, and again, not brand new news. I think we all kind of knew that it was potentially coming. And we had heard tale that it would be coming over the next 10 days. Would it take like weekend to get it all together? This historic alliance announced today between the Pac-12, the ACC, and the Big Ten is grounded in a commitment to our student athletes. We believe that collaborating together with we are stronger in our commitment to addressing the broad issues and opportunities facing college athletics. That's the words of the Pac-12 commissioner. According to ESPN, another source familiar with discussions said that the Pac-12 is driving this. That's why we've got Jared Denney from scoopduck.com coming on with us to talk about it from the Oregon perspective. You know, and again, I think that one of the things that the Big 12 benefits from in a scenario like this is twofold, really. One, there becomes a little bit of an ease of access to better kickoff times, even if that means that you have teams that have to travel across the country. The alternative swap off for the ACC and the Big Ten is that those teams might say, hey, look, we'll play you out west. We'll come back across the country next year, but that needs to be a 4:00 kickoff local time so that you're getting the benefit of the night game on ABC or something to that degree when it comes down to the kickoff time on the East Coast. So even if it's, I guess, they're 3-hour time difference. So if it's a 5:00 game out there, you get the 8:00 kickoff. So you kick it off you kick Clemson and Southern Cal off at 5:20 p.m. West Coast time, and you get the benefit on the East Coast of having, playing on that biggest stage nationally. Then conversely, for Oregon, they'll come across the country in this fake scenario. And they're already playing Ohio State this year. But let's say it was a matchup with an ACC team. Let's say that Oregon was going to hook up with Florida State. And you play that game on the East Coast at a reasonable hour, whatever time of day. It fits a great TV window for Oregon that they don't typically get when they're snapping the football for the first time at 10 o'clock on the East Coast. And then you have Florida State go out there and play them at a better time down the road. Now, again, the other side of this is that we just don't know how big this will be. I mean, will it come down to simply being a driving force behind partnerships and scheduling? Will it be a driving force in managing some of the minutia and the underlying aspects of NIL and even the college football playoff, possibly the expansion of the college football playoff? I don't know what that will mean. I can tell you the three leagues already have, at this point, 68 football games scheduled to take place against one another between 2022 and 2035, and that number will increase to 103 games if you include Notre Dame, which plays Southern Cal and Stanford and 5 ACC opponents annually. And that's the team in the mix that we talked about last week that initially I thought, oh, what happens to Notre Dame in all of this? And then it hit me, oh, well, the Fighting Irish are made for this. I mean, this is the teams and the leagues that they play. They should have little to no concern on this front when it comes down to, a partnership between these three leagues, because this is where they spend the bulk of their action anyway. I mean, we talked about the last time that they played. We talked about here on the show, I guess, the last time that they played against Georgia and how significant that game was. But the reality, in a lot of respects, is that they don't spend a ton of time playing against the SEC, and they spend a large majority of their time playing against the ACC and a couple of teams from the Pac-12 on a regular basis, and they love mixing in those matchups with the Big Ten. I mean, that is honestly one of the things that I miss, I think, now of Notre Dame's scheduling that you got to appreciate many years ago. And I think it truly comes down to what their schedule looked like in the 80s when I was a kid growing up. And look, I wasn't going to be somebody who was going to lock in on Notre Dame football on a Saturday on NBC. But, I mean, when Notre Dame was matching, I mean, this is their schedule from 1989. This is what Notre Dame played, okay? This is who they played when they, I believe that was the last year they won the national championship, or they finished second that year in the AP poll, 1989. So 87, I guess, was their last title. Notre Dame that season played Virginia from the ACC. They played Michigan from the Big Ten. They played Michigan State from the Big Ten and Purdue from the Big Ten. They played Stanford from the Pac-12. They played Air Force from the WAC, Southern Cal from the Pac-10. They played an independent Pitt. They played Navy. They played SMU. They played Penn State, who was an independent. They played Miami, who was an independent. And then they played Colorado and won that matchup against Colorado 21-6 in the Orange Bowl. So to me, that's the one thing. And again, some people say, Swanee, you're shooting down the ACC. But the reality is the majority of the ACC teams right now are not those same type matchups that Notre Dame has played through the years, where they match up with Penn State, where they match up with Southern Cal, where they match up with Stanford. And that's just, the truth to it all. That was the 88 Notre Dame team that went undefeated. They beat West Virginia in the national championship that season. But eyeballing it here, I mean, that year, they played a number 9 Michigan. They played Michigan State, Purdue, Stanford, Pitt, Miami, Air Force, Navy, Rice, Penn State, Southern Cal. Like, that's what they don't have now. They essentially get those 5 ACC teams. If one of them happens to be Clemson, if another one happens to be Florida State, then you pick up Southern Cal and Stanford or whatever other games that they've got tied in out of the West Coast. Then, there's some significance to that schedule, and it's fun. But I don't think it's ever been more fun for the Fighting Irish fans than what they used to have. And the good news is for them, with these three leagues coming together, they're still very much in the conversation. Speaking of conversations, Jared Denney coming up here on the program from scoopduck.com. Take a moment, go check out their website. They cover the Oregon Ducks. Quack, quack. That's their big thing, man. When they get a commitment, Justin Hopkins and the guys that run the website, it's like quack. They got the big quack going across the board. So quack, quack. We'll have a duck and a swan, I guess, going head-to-head here on the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk, in about 4 minutes when we get back from this break. So we'll hit a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about what this alliance means to the West Coast teams in the Pac-12, and then ultimately we'll focus a little bit on Oregon right after this.
Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed.
Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A look at the road shows a wreck on Forum Drive at Marketplace Common Circle. Also an accident, Amex Ferry at Eunice Court. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Take the shortcut to your next great hire. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, Instant Match immediately delivers a list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice. Our friends at the Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival are introducing their Kids, Cops, and Kindness Equals Safer Streets initiative. And this promotes the United Nations 11th Sustainable Development Goal. I'm inviting everyone, 18 and under, to visit psgff.com to learn how to create a short video about how you envision creating peace in the streets and enter it into this year's Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival.
Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning, the most trusted and reviewed cleaning company in town. Take advantage of their back-to-school sale going on now. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. And get the hallway clean for free when you mention this station. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
The IRS is ramping up collection, and if you owe back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, listen carefully. Before it's too late, check your eligibility for the Fresh Start program still offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problems. Call our special hotline number now and find out in minutes if you qualify for these life-changing debt reduction programs. Business or personal, if you're in a payment plan with no end in sight, have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to know your options, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief and stop collections immediately. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau with a 5-star rating from Yelp, this veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. Call their hotline number now, 800-781-3626. That's 800-781-3626. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-781-3626 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
This year marks the 60th anniversary of one of our state's real jewels, the Federation Center of the Blind, which is affiliated with the National Federation of the Blind of South Carolina. The center provides such key services as virtual and in-house computer training, job coaching, braille instruction, and much more. We invite you to join us by calling 803-254-3777 or by emailing nfbsc@sc.rr.com.
Follow Clemson Sports Talk on Twitter at Clemson Sports. Now more of Clemson Sports Talk. Take it away, Dad.
It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you on a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Glad to be back with you. And again, excited about the college football campaign that is looming. Multiple games coming up. And I do mean multiple games coming up later this week in the Power 5. But we head to the West Coast. Can't wait to catch up with my man, Jared Denny, scoopduck.com, stepping into the arena. Jared, what's up, big guy? How are you, man? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you?
Man, I'm great. I tell you what, this is so unique, I think, for so many perspectives, from so many perspectives when we talk about the ACC, the Pac-12, the Big Ten coming together. I know how the East Coast feels. I know what we've been talking about here in the ACC territory. Give me the scoop. What's going on out there as far as the folks in the Pac-12 and how they feel about the arrangement that was set forth today?
I think Pac-12 folks are, they're cautiously optimistic, but they're sort of like everybody else in the sense that they're trying to untangle what exactly all the news today means. And as you know, it's going to take a while until we sort of get sorted out what exact impact this has on the programs in terms of non-conference matchups and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think just overall, it's such an exciting move for. In the case of the Pac-12, they've had a few really rocky recent years under the Larry Scott tenure. So it's just really nice to get out from under the umbrella of that and have a commissioner who, seems to be, if anything, really forward-thinking and willing to do some moves that are, for the betterment of the conference.
Jared Denney, again, scoopdug.com with us here on Clemson Sports Talk today. Jared, my question would be, if the Pac-12 had been in 6 out of the 7 college football playoffs instead of 2, would there be that conversation that this push has been made as much by the Pac-12? Or do you think this is a byproduct of them sort of being on the outside of the college football playoff since 2017 when Washington last made an appearance?
I think it's the latter. I think it's a really good point. If you had Oregon or USC or Washington kind of constantly like knocking on the door for that consistent college football playoff spot, this probably wouldn't be as big of an issue. But the fact of the matter is you just haven't had the elite teams you would hope to see forcing the envelope on that the last few years. And I think with Oregon, that Mario Cristobal is building an absolute giant out here and has been recruiting as well as anybody in the country. And I think you're going to see that eventually happen. But for the time being, I think this is sort of, like you said, just a really good way for the conference to secure a little bit more say in how that unfolds over the next few years.
Now, one of the things that I thought about is, again, schedules are already put together so far out, and games can certainly change, but how difficult is it as a guy that lives on the West Coast when you start to recognize how late your games are sometimes available to the folks that live where I am here on the East Coast? A 7 o'clock kickoff for you guys, boy, I'm sure that's a beautiful game. It's not so beautiful over here on the East Coast at 10 o'clock.
No, I remember I used to feel the same way and love the 7 o'clock kicks. And then I moved out to the Midwest for an internship for a little bit and was always super pumped to, watch the Ducks and watch some of the Pac-12 teams that I really enjoy watching. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's an 11:30 kick. This is going to be miserable. So you're right. It's hard. And I think we have a little bit of tunnel vision out here on the West Coast as to just how hard it can be to get kind of national recognition when your games are ending at 2 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. So, and I think the new Pac-12 regime has already made some efforts to sort of alleviate that and scheduling early kicks. And like Oregon and Ohio State, that's a noon kick Eastern time. That's obviously a lot better for the product. So I think that as much of that as that's been an issue in the past, it's something that hopefully isn't going to be as big of a factor in the future.
Again, scoopduck.com is the website. Jared Denney and those guys, they do a tremendous job covering not only the Oregon Ducks, but college football and all the major sports out there in Eugene. And look, I mentioned to the listeners, I haven't gotten into it today about some of the news coming out of LSU, so I'll save that for later. But you guys in Oregon State were a couple of the first programs to come out and announce that, hey, you got to either have a negative COVID-19 test or be vaccinated to venture into the stadiums this season. How has that been received by everybody out that way?
It's been received, fairly well. It's just kind of an ever shuffling subject out here. Just today, Oregon's governor announced that masks will not be required outside for the foreseeable future. So it's just one of those things where each day there's like a new bit of news coming out. But for the most part, it's just difficult. Like in Eugene, Lane County, the county where we're located, there's a really bad wave of COVID spike right now. So I think a lot of people are just sort of looking at it like, whatever we have to do to watch football in person this year, we're going to do, because last year was just so brutally sad to have an empty Autzen Stadium. So there's always going to be people who are upset about it, as there is in any situation or in any place. But for the most part, I think it's being greeted with a lot of just let's do whatever we have to do to make this happen.
Now, just kind of dipping back into the alliance for a few minutes here with Jared Denney. And Jared, I want to confirm because I do have a break coming up in about 2 minutes. Will you be able to hold through the break? Because I want to get in with you a little bit about this monster, this juggernaut that Mario Cristobal, you say, is building out there, and get your thoughts on Oregon schedule. So can you hang with us through the break when we have one here in a few minutes?
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Okay, awesome. So let's get back to this alliance real quick. Give me, in your opinion, what are the benefits for, say, the ACC in this deal? We've kind of talked about what some of the benefits are for the Pac-12. What are the benefits for the Atlantic Coast Conference, in your opinion?
That's one of the questions I've been asking myself. And as I'm listening back to the press conference and reading back to the press releases, I'm sort of trying to figure out what the angle is here. And you guys probably have a much better idea than I do. But I guess like the obvious thing is that if you end up somewhere down the road with Clemson and Oregon home and home, or Penn State and USC home and home, or something like that, like that's obviously a very lucrative matchup. And that's, I think, on the surface, what fans are going to be most excited about. And obviously, with kind of the bureaucracy of college football, there's always a lot more going on behind the scenes. But in terms of just overall product on the field, I think that's the thing that, I mean, I am miles ahead of sort of being most excited about.
Well, my question would be, and actually we only got about 25 seconds, so I'll pump the brakes on that, and we'll hit a quick break here on the show today. But I'm going to come back. I want to get Jared's thoughts on how Clemson is viewed out west at this point, because we know how they're viewed in the SEC by a lot of teams. I want to get his idea on the Tigers as far as they go when it comes down to the Pac-12, and more specifically in the state of Oregon there. So again, Jared Denny, scoopduck.com. will hang through the break. Jared, I'm going to put you on hold, man. If you lose audio, don't panic. That's just the break. And we'll come back and talk a little bit more with him about everything going on in the world of college football right after this. Stay with us.
Men, this summer, don't sit on the sidelines. Get in the game. Live your life spontaneously and don't struggle with erectile dysfunction any longer. Peak Performance for Men can help you today. Naturally, no pumps, painful needles, or dangerous pills. Peak Performance has an 85% success rate, helping thousands of men achieve their erections naturally and spontaneously. It is a pain-free alternative to surgery. Linear compression therapy. Stop suffering. Pick up the phone and call now. 803-302-8181. That's 803-302-8181. Peak Performance for Men can help you today. They are professional, discreet, and have an all-male staff. Go to peakperformanceformen.com or call 803-302-8181. That's 803-302-8181. Peak Performance for Men. Live your best summer.
Way back when, Colombia was a vast dining desert, a wasteland for fast, fresh, authentic Southwestern food. Weren't nothing bundled up nice and warm in a tortilla. Colombia needed Diablos. Southwestern the way you want it, the real deal, with no shortcuts in quality and served up as fast and fresh as you want it. Diablo Southwest Grill, Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. DiabloSouthwestGrill.com.
When it's hot, it is hot. Stay cool with Wilson'sAir.com weather update.
A very hot day on tap today. Sure enough, a lot of sunshine, a few clouds move in, and you guessed it, a few claps of thunder will round out our Tuesday. For ABC Columbia, Channel 25, I'm Tyler Ryan.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Take the shortcut to your next great hire. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, Instant Match immediately delivers a list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present. When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium. When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day. When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash. I want to be a bike that races around the country. When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch. I want to be a skyscraper. I want to be. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Job coaching, computer and technology training, Braille instruction, educational workshops, mentoring, social networking, and recreational camps. These are just some of the far-reaching services offered by the National Federation of the Blind of South Carolina. We promote the economic and social welfare of the blind while helping them live the lives they want. To find out more about us, call 803-254-3777 or visit www.nfbofsc.org.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving supports victims of drunk driving, drug driving, and underage drinking at no charge. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Broadcasting from the TrueCar.com studios, this is Columbia's Fox Sports Radio, 1400.
Let me assure you of this. When you have a 4-minute break, in a segment, it can seem like an eternity for the person on the line. Jared Denny from ScoopDuck.com joining us. But if you had to run to the restroom as a radio show host during that 4-minute break, it is a blink. Trust me on that front. So, Jared, welcome back, man. Thank you for taking time to join us. And I got to apologize. I misspelled your first name for a moment during the first segment, but I got it corrected, but we got it up. And I do want to ask you a little bit about the Oregon Ducks this season, because I know you guys are excited. You've talked about Mario Cristobal and, just sort of shifting that narrative back, I think, in a lot of respects to being considered one of the top teams in the country. I mean, how disappointing was it for you guys last season, just sort of the way things played out? Because there were certainly high hopes about Oregon heading into the 2020 campaign as well.
There were, and don't get me wrong, it was disappointing, but there was always just a little bit of a sense that it wasn't a transition year, but it was kind of not quite the fully formed team that I think you're looking at this year. And like I said before the break, Mario Cristobal, some of the recruiting classes he's brought in, like these things don't happen in Oregon. Like even during the Chip Kelly era, he was sort of recruiting in the 20 to 25 rank in terms of like national class. And even then, like obviously a national championship against Auburn and some really successful seasons, but he was never recruiting the way that Mario's recruiting out here now. And he wasn't going to Alabama and Mississippi and Texas and sort of getting these perennial 4-star, 5-star kids that would normally end up at Alabama or Clemson or sort of one of the East Coast powers. So it's just been really, really cool to watch him sort of rebuild this program from the ground up after the whole Willie Taggart debacle. So it's sort of to get back to your question. I just think there's so much optimism around this program this year, and they still have a few smaller things to sort out. They haven't announced a starting quarterback yet, but it's as good of a group of quarterbacks as I think there's ever been at Oregon. So that's going to be sort of one of the more fun things to follow over the next kind of 7 to 10 days.
Second week of the season, they'll take on the Ohio State Buckeyes, who announced C.J. Stroud as their starting quarterback just a couple of days ago, September the 11th, 12 o'clock kickoff. Your thoughts on that matchup initially? I mean, look, I know what Ohio State did to Clemson a year ago, but you mentioned quarterback changes. Man, every team in the country, it seems like that's anybody this year has some quarterback updates. What do you think about that matchup? And do you like the Ducks' chances realistically to venture into the horseshoe and come out with a W?
It's funny. I just kind of talking to some Ohio State beat reporters and kind of getting the feel for the team. It's sort of the same question marks I just told you about Oregon. Ohio State, obviously, with the new quarterback, is facing some of the same issues. And from everything I've read and heard and seen, Stroud is obviously an absolute stud who he's at Ohio State for a reason, right? But it's kind of a whole different ballgame once you get out there on Saturday. So I haven't quite locked in on kind of where I'm leaning in terms of favorites for this game. I think obviously Ohio State on paper is a more talented roster because they're arguably more talented than everybody in the country besides one or two teams. But it's just sort of a matter of cohesion at this point. And I think this is the biggest test Mario Cristobal's had yet. Like, how do you go into the horseshoe with a team that overall is relatively young and compete with that? I just think it's going to be such a landmark moment for the Oregon program and something that's just so cool to see.
Clemson and Georgia, when those fan bases talk about their matchup to open the season, both feel like, okay, if you lose that game but you run the table, you can still get into the college football playoff. Does Oregon feel that way? I mean, if they lose that second game of the season to Ohio State, but they run the table in the Pac-12, will that be enough to get into the college football playoff in your mind? Because I think, now I'm just saying, I think you probably got to compete at that point with Oklahoma out of the Pac-12, Ohio State out of the Big Ten, Clemson out of the ACC, and probably Alabama out of the SEC. I mean, is there still enough there for Oregon, in your opinion?
I think there is, and that's sort of the stance that I've taken on it so far. That if you lose that early, I mean, Oregon's conference schedule it's not so difficult that it's like overwhelmingly unimaginable to envision them getting through the conference schedule and defeat it. But it's also not a total just kind of layup either. I mean, USC is good, Washington's good, Arizona State's going to be good. Those are all teams that I think have a chance to kind of fight for a top 10 ranking this year if everything plays right for them. But there's also a lot of question marks with those programs. So there's just so much variability in the Pac-12 that I think Oregon has more than enough of a chance to kind of run the schedule and fight their way back into the playoff if they lose. But it's going to take them doing a lot of things really, really well they didn't necessarily do last year. So it's gonna be fun to follow for sure.
And over at scoopduck.com, Jared Denny joining us. Let's see. I've got a feeling John is a Scoop Duck guy. He stopped by and just threw a big hey at us. And then also Tony gave us a big yo. Nobody gave us a big quack, though, that you guys like to do, Jared, over there. Every time you get a big recruit, his crystal ball picks them up left and right and trying to keep that West Coast talent on the West Coast. But, you know, Clemson's got a handful of guys, one being DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback, who is obviously a huge name that everybody on the West Coast knows. But my question to you, and we'll get you out of here today, is this. The SEC fans call me up and they'll say, Swanee, or they'll text me. They'll say, Swanee, you guys don't play anybody. What's the perception of Clemson in the West Coast? What's the perception in Eugene, Oregon of the Clemson Tigers, and how do you guys see the program that Dabo Swinney has built?
I don't know if I can speak for Eugene as a collective, but no,
you can't. We're letting you. You get to be the collective today, Jared.
Well, in that sense, I'm going to say that I love Clemson. I've always kind of enjoyed watching them growing up, and I think a lot of it was just kind of having been worn out on Alabama and Auburn and getting tired of seeing the same kind of programs over and over again. And I just really loved watching kind of those early Dabo teams growing up. So in that sense, I think I've always had a little bit of nostalgia and fondness for Clemson. And I guess some of the things that you mentioned about we don't play anything, that sort of thing, is like somewhat valid, but there's a lot of teams that don't play anybody every year. And I think that the ACC isn't as much of a pushover as a lot of West Coast folks sort of pretend that it is. I mean, we don't have a ton of room to talk with some of the Pac-12 teams that are getting rolled out there every week. So in that sense, I really like Clemson. I'm really fascinated to watch you guys' team this year.
Look, man, it'll be a lot of fun. Let's get you back on maybe the week of that Oregon-Ohio State game to talk about it. And looking forward to seeing the fantastic coverage that you guys have over at scoopduck.com, man. And look, anytime a swan and a duck get together, that's got to be a good thing. That's the way I see it, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Jared, be good, man. Jared Denny, again, thank you for your time, man, here on the show that shakes the Southland. Great insight. Great insight into, you know what, I wish we could have gotten into a little bit more. I think you guys would have enjoyed this too. Mario Cristobal and what's made him so successful out west, because golly, Willie Taggart, that whole thing, leaving and going to Florida State and then tanking the Seminoles, whew, that turned into something, huh? Stay with us.
Find the employees you need to get your business moving. Sign up with iHeartAdBuilder.com and create a custom radio ad to reach job seekers listening to stations just like this one. Get started today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Hi, I'm Pat Struby, and I host the show Save Your Retirement each Saturday here on WVOC. One concern my clients have is what to do about Medicare. In my experience, what most people want is a trusted advisor who can show them their Medicare options. My friend Tim Hanberry understands the ins and outs of Medicare and is the author of a book called Medicare Blueprint. Tim walks you through the entire process, from helping you sign up with Medicare, picking the right plan, and then making sure you have your ID cards. He has done this for my clients, and I recommend him to you. So if it's your time for Medicare, call us at 803-9-RETIRE and set up a time to speak with him. He'll listen to your individual circumstances and then give you the kind of straightforward advice you're looking for. Make this easy on yourself. Go to MedicareBlueprint.com or call 803-9-RETIRE to set up an appointment.
Tim Hanberry is an independent agent. Pat Struby is not compensated by Tim. Neither Pat nor Tim are affiliated with Medicare, the U.S. government, or any governmental agency.
Special people make the Midlands a special place to live. They're the CEOs who make our businesses thrive. Find out who they are as we showcase CEOs you should know. Every Tuesday and Saturday morning between 7 and 8 on iHeartRadio.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? Cut to order at Kaufman's Meat and Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat and Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole in one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary.
I'm Tamara Pridgett.
And I'm Adrienne Herbert. And we're co-hosts of Sweat the Details, a collaboration from Under Armour and iHeartRadio.
It's a brand new podcast by women, for women, here to shake up the conversation about women in sport and fitness.
iHeartRadio is #1 for podcasts, but don't take our word for it. Find Sweat the Details on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Chris Domine is a husband and a father. Chris is an athlete. Chris is even an Iron Man. But 10 years ago, Chris was facing a very different story because his kidneys were failing.
Basically, the doctor said, if you don't get a kidney transplant and if you don't do dialysis, you are going to die.
Fortunately, Chris received a second chance at life, made possible by an organ donor.
You know, your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
More than 100 million people in America are registered organ, eye, and tissue donors. People of every age and ethnicity, because they believe it's the right thing to do. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
Shaking the Southland all the way to the West Coast today. That's right, we did that. Clemson Sports Talk again. Jared Denny, ScoopDuck.com. Coming up, shaking it a little closer. We'll be shaking it like a Polaroid picture. Our man Mike Uval. Watch Fox 57 in the Mills. Look at this guy. I got a face for radio. Look at that guy. That guy's look at him. The Biscuit King of the South, ladies and gentlemen. Ironically, that photo was taken on the West Coast at the hotel ahead of Clemson's matchup with Alabama for the national title. So you got that. All right. Your boy Swanee. Listen. You know this. You know this. I'm not always right. I mean, I've been wrong before, like once. I know the feeling. Linda subscribed to the YouTube. Get them up. Get them up. I need a little like celebration thing. Woo, woo. You know, I see some of these people on YouTube that, you know, I talk about supporting our website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com, a lot. $63.17, Gamecock Nation. That's right. I said it. $63.17 to step in and support us over on the website. But I will say that I'm not always right, but I might be right on this COVID-19 thing and the way it's going. I'm not happy about it. But listen, when Oregon and Oregon State say that you got to have like a negative COVID-19 test and all of this to get into the venue, a lot of people are like, oh, left coast. They're getting loose with their rules. But this news out of Louisiana 5 hours ago, LSU will require all Tiger Stadium guests age 12 or older, to provide proof of vaccination or a negative COVID-19 PCR test taken within 72 hours prior to entry.
Forget you, pal. Thanks for nothing.
That's what they're doing at LSU in the official release that came out earlier today. LSU Athletics will continue to update fans on the season's procedures, including game day pre-screening options to expedite entry, further masking requirements, pop-up vaccination events, FAQs, and more as they are finalized. The first update will be posted on Friday, August the 27th. So again, I don't know what it'll look like at Clemson at this point. We haven't heard anything. We did hear about the changes at for the Georgia-Clemson game in Charlotte. Certainly continuing to see some of the trends with the COVID-19 stuff, especially among the unvaccinated right now. It is pretty rough. And the other thing that I think has a lot more people worrying, remember at the beginning of all this, there came this moment where a lot of people would post like, does anybody know anybody with COVID-19? And I mean, I can tell you right now, I know one in their 30s fighting for his life, and it's a tough fight. I know another who is also in a bad situation at this point. And these are middle-aged, individuals. I think that first wave of COVID-19 a year ago was hitting a lot of the elderly group. Really were struggling with it. There was no vaccine at that point, but now it appears to be a lot of the unvaccinated people. And I'm just guessing. I don't have any idea on this, but that's a lot of the fans of college football. That's a lot of the people that are wanting to go to these games. And if LSU, and I know the state of Louisiana has had a lot of issues with COVID-19, if LSU in the heart of the SEC is taking that step, I would venture to guess it's only a couple of days before that news starts to, spread to other programs. I can't see it now. And again, maybe some of it comes down to what we would call, I guess, some sort of responsibility that the schools feel to make sure that they're doing everything they can. I don't know. Did that say fans have to wear somebody? That didn't say the fans have to wear mask in the stadium, though. But I think I heard somewhere, and I can't remember what school, somebody I think is making people perhaps wear mask in the stands. I'm not certain on that, but I thought I heard that. I don't think it's LSU. But that seems to be, where we're trending right now when it comes down to the situation with COVID-19. And maybe people choose not to go. But that's their right. That's your right not to go. It's also the university's right to put in whatever policies they want. Like I said last week, like we can complain about it if you want to, but you can't take an umbrella into Clemson Stadium. That could be pouring down rain. You can't have an umbrella. You can't take a bag that's not clear into the stadium. I mean, the stadiums can have whatever policies they want. They want you to walk through a metal detector. You'll walk through a metal detector. They want to wand you. You'll get wanded after the metal detector. They want to take your temperature on the way in the venue. They could take your temperature. I mean, if it's there, it doesn't matter if you're a season ticket holder. It doesn't matter if you're an IPTAY donor. It doesn't matter. You can say, well, I'm going to stop that. That's fine too. but they can do anything as far as you getting into that venue that they pretty much want. And we've seen it time and time again. After the terrorist attacks, 9/11, what happened to your precious pass out policies at Clemson that we love so much? You couldn't go in and out anymore, could you? And now you can, because they've relaxed those rules. But rules on your entry into the stadiums are controlled by the schools and the athletic departments. And there is not a penny you can pay that can change that. Whatever decision they make is what you're going to have to deal with. That's the truth about it. That's the facts. Trust your old Uncle Swanee on that one. Hour number 2, Mike Yuva joins the program. Stay with us.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A look at traffic shows a wreck on Zimmelcrest at Broad River, also a tie-up Muller Road at Blythewood Road. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Sometimes it feels like the course keeps changing right before your eyes. Dell Technologies advisors have the tech solutions you need to help your business stay ahead of the game. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL and do more with modern devices in Windows 10 Pro.
For 28 years, the professional staff of the Hobbs Group and Hobbs Group Advisors has been dedicated to helping others achieve their financial goals by delivering quality, objective financial and accounting solutions to a diverse client base of individuals and businesses all over South Carolina. We offer tax and audit services, bookkeeping, payroll, litigation support, employee benefits, personal financial planning, investment management, and insurance services. Please call us at 803-799-0555 or visit our website, hobbscpa.com, to learn more about our people and services.
I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice. Our friends at the Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival are introducing their Kids, Cops, and Kindness Equals Safer Streets initiative. And this promotes the United Nations 11th Sustainable Development Goal. I'm inviting everyone, 18 and under, to visit psgff.com to learn how to create a short video about how you envision creating peace in the streets and enter it into this year's Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival.
Scott here with Traditions Fine Jewelers with some exciting news. A second Traditions Fine Jewelers, Gamecock Tradition and Tiger Tradition, will be opening in the Northeast this September. As we're getting ready to open, we're looking for new people to add to our current staff. Are you a happy person that loves meeting people? At Traditions, we can certainly tell you about top dollar pay, the commissions, and the health benefits, which are all really good. Instead, it's the love of the job and excitement you'll feel coming to work every day that really sets us apart. Don't believe me? Ask our current staff. The average employment time at Traditions is over 14 years. That doesn't happen by accident. Fantastic retail hours, too. Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, and closed Sunday, making it a family-friendly job, too. We are setting up interviews now at our Lexington location, and we'll be adding staff at both Lexington and Northeast, including management opportunities. Call us at 803-520-1969 or email me at scott@traditionsfinejewelers.com to set up an appointment, or just stop by the store and let's see if we can work together. Traditions Fine Jewelers is located at 5134 Sunset Boulevard. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
It's time to pull for cures. Curing Kids Cancer's 8 Fire Truck Pull will be held virtually at curingkidscancer.org August 26th through the 28th. Teams of 10 will see who can virtually pull a fire truck the furthest, with all proceeds benefiting the Gamecocks Curing Kids Cancer $1.2 million endowment to the Children's Center for Cancer and Blood Disorders Clinic at Prisma Health Children's Hospital, Midlands. To donate and support your favorite team, Visit curingkidscancer.org anytime August the 26th through the 28th.
WCOS Columbia, Fox Sports Radio 1400, an iHeart radio station available everywhere on our free iHeart Radio app. Number one for music, radio, and podcasts all in one.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you. And oh, yes, indeed. He is the man. He is the myth. He is the biscuit king of the South. Mike Yuva joins the program on a, well, beautiful day here in the Midlands of South Carolina. Mike, what's up, man?
Not much. How we doing, Swanee?
I'm good. How do you like the new studio here that we got rocking and rolling? You like it,
man? I like you. Look, you know what it is? You look like one of the coaches, like a head coach, right? You go into the office, they have all the game balls behind them. So I'm not even going to ask what's on those footballs. I can kind of see, but I'm just going to say that Clemson, or maybe the previous colleges that you had an impact at, gave you those as game balls.
Yeah, let's take a look what we got back here. We got the new Trevor Lawrence. That's brand new out of the box. I don't know if you can see that one. We got the Deshaun Watson. We got the national championship. Look, man, that's when you rack up those titles like Clemson's doing. You get a lot of footballs in the house.
And look, you can see, and your viewers will be able to see. My room's a little bit messy to this side, but I do have some Clemson gear. So for people that say I don't have Clemson, see, I got Clemson. Everyone that says I hate Clemson, I don't hate Clemson. I got a Clemson bobblehead actually right above me. See, I'm neutral. I promise. Even though I work in Columbia.
Yeah, don't let the Gamecocks beat you down with that Clemson stuff over there on the side, man. All right, Mike, let's talk about it. Today, they're calling it historic. I don't know if it is historic, a partnership between the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12. I just spoke to some of my contacts out in Oregon. We had them on to talk about what it means to them. And I certainly see the advantages from the Pac-12. I mean, it's a league that's only been in the college football playoff twice. The last time it was there was back in 2017, so it's been a while. But what are the benefits for the Big Ten and the ACC in something like this, in your opinion?
Well, the instant thing that comes to my mind is the idea that the strength of schedule will be stronger, and not just the strength of schedule, but it'll also increase revenue with the ratings for some of these games. It'll be able to give some more marquee matchups. And when you're talking about from a TV standpoint, when you're talking about trying to be able to get eyeballs, that's what you need. I'm sorry. Shoot, let's pick on some schools here. Let's get some people really upset. Let's go out West Coast. I don't know.
Arizona State?
Arizona State versus Purdue. Is that going to really move the needle? Sorry to our boy Maddie over, who comes a great Clemson. But the point being is that going to really move the needle? Probably not. So what you need to do is you got to find ways to be able to move the needle, and being able to have matchups that you can kind of pick and put in more of a primetime spot and be able to give people what they really want is going to be great. But it's also, now that we live in the world of NIL and players being able to make a quick buck here and there, now they also are going to be able to benefit, because that is one of the big difference right now. If this happened, I don't know, say 10 years ago, would this be as important to have happen? I'm not going to say that it wouldn't be, but it wouldn't be as important, because now as a conference, you need to find ways to be able to get players to still want to come to your conference. It is so easy right now from an SEC standpoint. I mean, Shane Beamer talked about it maybe a month ago, before the deal was finalized between Texas and Oklahoma, saying, before it's like, hey, you want to play in the best conference, come play in the best conference. But now we have Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, that's the ultimate mic drop. That was his exact quote. So I think what you've seen now is you have to do this if you want to be able to make some money, number one. But number two, to be able to convince some of these players, hey, you have an opportunity to make money. You don't have to necessarily just go to the SEC.
The other thing too, and I think this is why, to me, and again, we've had a little while to digest it, but it doesn't seem like such a slap in the face that this is taking place. Not in a bad way, but just so shocking. Is because how many years did we hear people talking about, and this is still out there, about the Power 5 leagues coming together with a commissioner to break away from the remaining parts of the NCAA so that these guys could benefit off of NIL, a change we have seen, maybe help control their own playoffs. I mean, things like that. So it's really 3 out of the 5, and at this point, 3 out of the 4, because it certainly seems like the Big 12 is on shaky ground. But, I mean, is that another reason that maybe it's not as, quote, stunning today that this news is finally coming to fruition?
It's not in Swanee. I think here's the thing that's interesting, though. I want to say the year was 2012 when the Big 10 and the Pac-12 actually try to create an alliance of their own. They try to be able to beef up their schedule. And I mention this because while this is basically a handshake, because that's all it is, nothing is written, nothing is done yet. They try to make that happen back in 2012. And the discussions, unfortunately, eventually fell apart back then. And it was reported that it would have taken at least 5 years for those non-conference games to come to fruition because of the TV deal. So I mention all that because, obviously it's going to take some time with Texas and Oklahoma. I think that will be quicker, though, in comparison to what any type of alliance talk outside of the SEC. But it's important to keep in mind because this is not a deal, regardless if they sign papers and, it's not going to happen overnight. People need to keep that in mind. So I think the big thing is that, yes, it will benefit all 3 conferences in some shape, way, or form. It will benefit some teams a little bit more than others. But at the same time, too, until we actually see this in writing, until this actually happens, it's going to be playing catch up for a lot of these teams in these other conferences outside of the SEC.
Again, he's on Twitter at Mike_UVA. Watch Fox 57 in the Midlands. Mike Uva with us every Tuesday afternoon. The other thing, too, and I posed this question to our buddy Jared over at scoopduck.com, and I even kind of broached it here as well, but it really does feel like from the Pac-12's perspective, this is a big benefit because they get a chance to lock in more East Coast start times. And conversely, the teams from the Big Ten and the ACC, if they were to go out west, those could always be 4 o'clock West Coast or 5 o'clock West Coast start times and still get perfectly good spots on the East Coast as well.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is going to be probably the biggest challenge outside of the actual matchups. I guess you could say, obviously, traveling and this and that. But, I mean, let's look at it, right? Right now, if you have to pick who is some of the top teams in the ACC, I mean, that's pretty easy, right? Obviously Notre Dame, that was last year, so I'm not going to throw them in the mix if that were to happen because I know that's a possibility in the next couple of years. But we'll put Notre Dame to the side. Clemson, North Carolina, Miami, some of these teams, and obviously we can add more to it. The point being is, those are 3 teams right now that just pop in my head instantly. Does that mean 5 years, 10 years from now, they will be in the same position that they are right now? I mean, we saw Miami take their hits. Yes, Miami was in the mix to be able to compete with Clemson in conference championships, and Clemson, of course, took care of them. But the point being is we're looking 5 years out potentially. This is just the example I'm using because of what we saw a couple of years ago, 2012, with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. How do you line that up? And do you bet teams that are a little bit better to give them some of the better matchups? Because we know if it's Clemson and you're going up against, let's say, Oregon, that could help out those 2 teams more than if you are a team that's in the bottom part of the conferences, for the Pac-12 and the ACC. So I'm interested to see how it all aligns out because what's going to happen is, does this become a rich gets richer situation and we benefit and we give the benefit of the doubt to the teams that are better in the conference over the last couple of years? Or do we try to lay this all out so it can be fair? Because I have a feeling some of these athletic directors in these other, in these conferences outside of schools like Clemson and Oregon, some of the lower tier teams in the conference, they're not going to be too happy if the rich just keep getting richer. So I mentioned that. And I think the other thing too, that goes without saying, this, of course, is football driven, but this will have a huge impact on all the college sports. So the biggest change we will see will definitely be football, though, and the most money that this will impact will be football.
One of the other things, Mike, that's interesting to me are the conversations about the Rose Bowl. And this wasn't, I don't think, addressed today, but the Rose Bowl with the college football playoff expansion, it sort of wants to get out. It's wild, right? Like most bowls would say, like the TaxSlayer.com bowl would say, sign us up for being in the college football playoff. But the Rose Bowl may be bigger than the college football playoff, just in terms of what it could still bolster if it had the winner of the Big Ten and the Pac-12 facing off and the historical side of that. But, is that a bad move for the Rose Bowl if indeed it does step out, or can it stand alone? Almost like a Notre Dame of the bowl, a Notre Dame of the bowls per se.
I think it can stand alone, and here's why. If the competition remains high, people will watch that game for two reasons. One, people enjoy watching football on New Year's Day. I mean, that will never, ever, ever change. I mean, think about it. Go back to some of the most historic games in college football history. It doesn't necessarily have to be the national championship. I mean, shoot, you can just think from a USC standpoint. One of the most memorable plays in bowl history happened in the Outback Bowl, right, on New Year's Day. So the point being, with Clowney's obviously his big hit against Michigan. So the point being is some of those best memories do happen on that day. And the history that the Rose Bowl has with, all the ongoing changes that we've seen these last couple of years with college sports and the impact it's had on New Year's Day 6 bowl games, the Rose Bowl continues to be a game that people really enjoy. I mean, shoot, I have conversations with people all the time. If you could pick one bowl game that you want to attend just on your bucket list, the Rose Bowl's there. It doesn't matter what school. Yeah, I know you're raising your hand. I'm right there with you. It doesn't matter who's playing in it. I've given a lot of publicity over these last couple of weeks to TikTok Tech, but I mean, TikTok Tech could be playing in it. It doesn't matter. People want to go out there. So I think the beauty of this is, because of those automatic bowl tie-ins and the automatic bids that you do have, and obviously it's changed over the last couple of years because of how the college football playoff has had an impact on it. To have new teams in there and to potentially have, not necessarily two conferences automatically locked in every year. I mean, you could have a team maybe from the ACC. I mean, you imagine that. Let's say Clemson isn't playing for the college football playoff one year, but yet they're still one of the best teams in the country and they have a chance to play in the Rose Bowl. I feel like a lot of Tiger fans would probably want to go to that. I mean, that's a neat bowl game, just new opportunities.
Yeah. Well, I think that the thing about that, though, is I personally believe because of the way the college football playoff has been working, where Clemson's been in the Sugar Bowl, they've been in the Orange Bowl, they've been in the Cotton Bowl, they've been in the Fiesta Bowl. Even if they had, maybe been to the Rose Bowl, I still think it would have that punch. But it's really got that punch because they haven't been there. They haven't been to that one. So I think that's it. Or Chick-fil-A. Like Clemson hadn't played in the Peach Bowl because Alabama always ends up in the Chick-fil-A Bowl if they're, ahead of Clemson. So it's just kind of one of those, I guess, dynamics of it all. But no doubt, man, I think the Rose Bowl will be packed with Tiger fans. All right, so you didn't join us to talk about Clemson. You didn't join us to talk about the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12. You joined us to talk about South Carolina, the SEC. Some would say maybe even the pulse of college football runs through the SEC. South Carolina situation at quarterback. I think it was last week you were telling us about a grad assistant that was stepping in. What's the latest with the Luke Doty situation as he's trying to mend from that foot sprain we talked about a week ago?
So as we reported almost 2 weeks ago now, we were the first to report that Luke Doty initial diagnosis was a midfoot fracture and he had minor ligament damages. Shane Beamer came out later that day and said it was a sprained foot, fortunately, the second diagnosis, and they came out just this past Thursday during the Carolina Calls coaching show and said that initially they believed that it was worse than what they eventually saw it to be, and they thought he was going to be done for the season. So that's the good news. That comes out, and I'm glad Beamer said that because I'm sure some people are like, wait a minute, how can, not just myself, but some of the other credible outlets in Columbia say that same thing. So that's what happened. That cast that Doty has had on over the last about week and a half now, that came off on Sunday. He is in a walking boot. He's not putting really any pressure on it right now, but he does come out a little bit occasionally. Right now, Zeb Nolan, which sounds like a Disney movie, the grad assistant from North Dakota State who played behind Trey Lance, yes, he is officially on the roster as of today. He's wearing number 25. I can't remember the last SEC quarterback to wear a number in the 20s, probably the hefty lefty at Kentucky. I know Doug Flutie was in the 20s back in his days at Boston College. but it's not something that you see too much. He is on the roster. Shane Beamer said today that he is not named a starter for 2 reasons. One, he doesn't think that's fair to Zeb because Zeb's only had 4 days of practice, really, since all this stuff is kind of played out. And number 2, he also wants to see how things play out with Luke Doty. With that all being said, Jason Brown, the transfer from St. Francis that has come in as a grad transfer, he has continued to find ways to separate himself a little bit more from the true freshman Colton Gauthier. And now it seems like it's going to be a decision that's going to be coming down between Zeb Nolan and Jason Brown if Doty is not ready to go week 1.
Well, and I would guess the other thing too, at least from the South Carolina perspective, is the fact that you've got this matchup with Eastern Illinois out of the gate, which, again, I'm not saying, look, you don't have to be at full bore to come out on top and get a victory in that game. But, you know, when you're looking at your schedule and that's the opener, there is a sense of relief when you're dealing with an issue like this, correct? I mean, there's got to be.
Yeah.
Shane Beamer can't say that, but, I mean, there's got to be a little bit of relief in that front.
And Shane came out today and he said, look, he's like, this isn't, just coaches talk. He's like, I feel confident and comfortable where we are right now with quarterback based on what has transpired over the almost 2 weeks now, the week and a half. Zeb Nolan is a guy that has experience of playing in Power 5 football. He was at Iowa State. He actually gave a tremendous game up and back, back and forth, kind of like a track meet style game when he played against Oklahoma back in the day when Shane Beamer was an assistant over there. So there's experience there. And Marcus Satterfield came out and said before, during the interview process when Zeb came over as a grad assistant, he told Beamer, he's like, he might be the smartest quarterback I've ever spoke to. So the IQ is there. There's no question about it. Zeb joked around today and he said, I did an old man workout this summer. I wasn't planning I was going to play football. I thought my last game against Sam Houston, that was going to be it. But he's back in the pads again. He's getting that body acclimated back to being in football shape. But he knows what he's doing. The guy has an absolute cannon for an arm, and he's been pushing Jason Brown. He's been pushing, Colton Gauthier. He's making these guys better. And to be able to have just that added depth, whether or not Zeb Nolan is playing on, week 1 or, he's on the field at any point this season, he's definitely adding more pressure in that competition, into that quarterback room, but he also brings an IQ because he's been around Trey Lance. He was been able to learn from a guy that is making a bunch of money right now in the NFL and is giving Jimmy Garoppolo a run for his money in San Francisco.
Mike, final thing for you today, and I guess this all, when we get right down to it, sort of shakes out to the beginning of the year and everything that we know about college football, but it's such an aerial game. I mean, and when you and I were growing up, it really wasn't. It was a ground and pound, 3 yards out of the dusk. South Carolina secondary, what's the expectation there? Where do you think they are as they begin to head into the preparation for the season opener?
I think it's starting to come together in terms of who will be the starters. I think that will be a little bit clearer after this week. I will say, though, I mean, they've gone through some musical chairs just these last couple of weeks. I mean, going into training camp. I mean, Karan Prunty comes in, the All-American defensive back from Kansas, and then, he's there for a cup of coffee and he's gone. Cam Smith coming back for his 3rd year, a local guy here at Westwood. He's been in a boot all preseason. So there's still some question marks to be answered at the secondary. I know I've mentioned Carlins Patel and the difference he's made, but even Beamer mentioned today, they have so many young guys or guys that have come from smaller schools. They're not used to playing in front of 80,000 plus. So, being able to put a roster together right now, that could change as the season goes on, as you could say any school, but until they're actually out on the field, how do they react to an environment like that? Even guys that were here last year, because of the restrictions, because of COVID, some of these guys have not played in front of big crowds. So there's a lot of question marks still to be answered about that secondary. And we're going to be, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, not just week 1, but as the season unfolds.
Well, and if that defensive line with Jordan Birch and others, can make an impact, that'll help those guys on the back end for sure. As you know, as a former player. Mike, buddy, always appreciate you, my man.
Thanks, Wani.
Hey, tell those Gamecocks to be nice to me. I treat them right.
I'll see if I can get them to send you Christmas cards this winter.
that would be great. All right, buddy, be good. Mike Yuva, watch Fox 57 in the Midlands, man. Always good to hear from him. All right, coming up on the program, we'll break down some of what Mike got into there. And did you get a chance to see Big Trev the Giant Killer last night in the Jacksonville Jaguars? Oh, more like the Jaguars. Oh my goodness. It's not Trevor's fault. Not Trevor's fault at all. We'll talk about that too here on the show that shakes the Southland. Stay with us again. It is Clemson Sports Talk.
Now your chance to win $1,000 and a trip to our iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword festival to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's festival to 200-200. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
A look at traffic shows a wreck on Zimmelcrest at Broad River, also a tie-up Muller Road at Blythewood Road. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. It's amazing because Discover is accepted at 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report limitations apply.
By popular demand, Great Southern Homes now lists their coming soon communities online. Whether you're looking for a new home in your hometown, moving to a new town, or just want your pick of choice lots, this is the place to start. Great Southern Homes invites you to put the wow in your new home with options and upgrades. Live green, live smart in your new green smart home. Show your style and personalize your new home with options and upgrades from Great Southern Homes. Find your dream home today, GreatSouthernHomes.com.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. This spring, you can share your own observations about nature with scientists and play a critical role in scientific discovery by adding to their data collection. Discover more about citizen science programs such as monitoring weather, observing plants and animals, and more. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Let radio advertising keep your business top of mind with customers all summer long. Visit iHeartAdBuilder.com to get your business on the radio quickly and easily. You can even make your own radio ad. Just answer a few questions and we'll do the rest. Sign up today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Hey guys, Lawton Swan here. I was hanging out in the backyard with my son Mason a couple of years ago, and he said, "Dad, you're the best father ever." When I asked him why, he said, "Because when I go outside to play, I don't get eaten up by the bugs anymore." Imagine that, me a hero, when all I did was call my good buddy Trey Powell at Mosquito Joe. With their routine service plan, no more bugs and no more bites. Make yourself the family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today, 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college. So I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I feel like if I didn't have anyone to push me, I wouldn't give a bother to do it. I got one milestone down the drain, and now I got to work on the next. I see the future is really bright for me. I feel like it doesn't matter the age, as long as you go back and get it done. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
No one gets a diploma alone. You have more support than you realize. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You can help the Federation Center of the Blind continue its mission of opening more doors to blind South Carolinians. Please call 803-254-3777 or email nfbsc@sc.rr.com. Do it today. Looking for South Carolina's favorite country? You'll find it at 97.5 WCOS.
Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan, Mike Yuva, man. How great was Mike? Join us again. Look, again, just take a moment. Look at this guy. This guy's it's the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. Everybody's got a price for the $1 million man. John in Archdale, North Carolina. Oh, I missed this, John. He said, you must ask Mike Yuva about his new Bo phone. Oh, how'd I miss that one? He also says, I always wonder where that snippet of Tiger Style comes from at the beginning. John, that's in. Okay, so that is from the Wu-Tang Clan. If you're like the what, who? That's from the Wu-Tang Clan.
Well, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard of.
No, it's serious. So when I was in high school, my buddy Gavin and I, when we would work on like papers back in the day, man, we'd put on the Wu-Tang Clan 36 Chambers album and just rock it out. And so the beginning of maybe that entire album starts with that little phrase right there, Tiger Style. And so at Clemson, I'm glad you got me on this, John, because this is a pretty good story. So at Clemson, there's a little, 2001, 2002. There's a little white Honda Civic rolling around with Tiger Style written in like this kind of Asian script, I guess. Kind of looks like, I think it's actually the same script that's on the Teriyaki Express or whatever the restaurant's called. So same font as that. And there's this cute girl driving the car. And I'm like, well, either, she's a Clemson student. So maybe she's, it's just her thing is she's Tiger Style or whatever. And so I kind of see this girl and I think, man, she's good looking, And well, that's my wife now. So it turns out that it was Tiger Style. Further, it turns out that it was the Wu-Tang Clan. And, instead of like turtle shelling that thing and hiding from it, I just went for it.
No woulda, shoulda, couldas. Do what I can while I can so that when I cannot, I will not wish that I would have when I could have.
Thank you, Coach. So I did. And we've been married 15 years. So there you go. That's the story. So we both, actually, our favorite rap, hip hop group was the same one, which is kind of crazy because it's not exactly the first. It's not the first hip hop name that jumps off of the tongue when somebody asks you who's the best hip hop group or whatever. If you don't subscribe to our channel, hit the subscribe button right now. What are you thinking about? What are you wasting your time for? Go to YouTube and subscribe, man. We're up over 100 subscribers in the past 2 weeks or whatever it is. I mean, it says 30 days, but we've only been at this for a couple of weeks, maybe a week and a half. And I love what we've been doing. If you haven't checked that channel out, please do. Again, the Clemson Sports Talk YouTube channel. We talked with the folks out at scoopduck.com. We've talked with Mike Yuva today. Mike gave us the situation with South Carolina's quarterback group. And again, look, this is not to diminish Eastern Illinois, but if you're South Carolina, thank goodness you don't open up with East Carolina and you open up with Eastern Illinois, and that those games aren't flip-flopped, and that you got a little bit more time before you get into the brunt of the SEC schedule for the Gamecocks this year. And again, I've said all along, I will continue to say it, I think it is going to be a tough road for Shane Beamer this year. But I truly believe that he has a chance to be successful in Columbia. Now, how long does he get? That'll be a big question. Gamecock Nation, I understand your patience is thin. And part of that is the fact that you've just come off of the greatest run of success in the history of your program under Coach Steve Spurrier. In the job that he did, beating Clemson 5 consecutive years in a row, the 11-win finishes, back-to-back-to-back seasons, all of that feels so close, but yet so far. And it might feel differently if Clemson had not been this juggernaut that was going out and playing for college football championships and winning them and getting in the playoffs and becoming one of the two preeminent programs in college football. Like if Clemson was just 1998 Clemson, 2002 Clemson, maybe South Carolina fans don't take as much, every bit of pain that you have in football season would have also come along with some joy of being able to go, ha, look at you, Clemson. You're not great either. But it's been the opposite. Carolina's been essentially abysmal, and Clemson's been this rocket ship. And the thing that you can celebrate is, yeah, you got beat by Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl in the college football playoff. The bad moments for Clemson have been so few and far between in the midst of this incredibly difficult time for South Carolina fans. And patience is the thing. And if these two teams had played a year ago, Clemson would have won, 7 consecutive games. Instead, they didn't play. And Clemson will look for I believe, their 7th consecutive victory in this series. And I think this thing reasonably could go out to 10 or more without me feeling stunned about it. And that's giving Shane Beamer the benefit of improving South Carolina's program. Like, I think it is feasible, reasonable, arguable. You could argue that Shane Beamer will improve South Carolina's program substantially. I think that's a belief that you can absolutely have. But maybe maybe in 4 or 5 years, they're an 8-4, 9-3 team. But it would most likely be 9-3, and Clemson's one of your losses. Like Clemson on South Carolina's schedule, unless they're playing Alabama, it is the pinnacle. It is the top. It's the best team that you play. It's the tip of the iceberg. They're the last team on South Carolina's schedule you're more likely to defeat over the next 8 seasons, 5 seasons, whatever the number is. Clemson's the best team South Carolina plays every year right now, unless they play Alabama. Truth.
Our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival, September 17th and 18th.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas.
Streaming free on the CW app and CWTV.com. Listen every weekday to win your way there and win $1,000.
Brought to you by T-Mobile. The headliner in 5G gives customers more of the music they love. From exclusive access to tickets to rockstar treatment, like fast lane entry at the festival. Enjoy the best perks at the hottest show of the summer.
G'day, mate. As an Australian, I'm a croc expert. Crikey, get him away from me. I mean Crocs, like the footwear. And as a croc expert, I have to say I like foamies from Skechers bloody better. Because foamies have that stylish, trendy look, plus Skechers' world-famous comfort. All for a price that's down under the competition. Skechers is the comfort technology company. And foamies have comfort innovations your whole family will love. Foamies are ultra-lightweight, water-friendly footwear that are flexible and breathable. Perfect for kicking it by the pool, grilling on the barbie. Or comfy enough to go on a walkabout. Plus, only foamies come with fits and features like Arch Fit with podiatrist-certified support. And max cushioning that feels like you're walking on big puffy marshmallows. And foamies are perfect to keep you cool this summer or warm in the winter, which is great because it's actually winter in Australia right now. Good on you, Skechers. So get yourself some machine washable foamies by Skechers and don't get bit by Crocs. He's a mean fella. Find foamies at Skechers.com, a Skechers store, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Now your chance to win $1,000 and a trip to our iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword festival to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in the nationwide contest. That's festival to 200-200.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
It was another ugly preseason performance for rookie NFL coach Urban Meyer and the Jags. There are 2 types of rebuilds, quick and long. And this is going to be a long one for Urban. With a rookie quarterback, bad offensive and defensive line, retread coordinators, no stars on the roster. Where do the wins come from? Urban has had quick turnarounds at every stop in college, but even he can't save the Jags. I'm Colin Cowherd.
Download the DraftKings app and use code SPORTS to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
No one knows you like you. That's why iHeart is giving you your very own station, My Favorites Radio, where the only songs that play are the ones you've thumbed up, plus the biggest songs from the stations you listen to most. The more you hit thumbs up, the more personal My Favorites Radio gets. Trust us, the thumb screen will be worth it. You can even show off your amazing musical taste and share your station with friends. My Favorites Radio, only on iHeart. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one app.
iHeart Radio.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members, of their families or their children, asking them to deploy, patrol, stay on watch, on point, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to bring them all the way home, to keep them secure, to have their backs for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs do whatever it takes to help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Find out how you can help at findwwp.org.
Fox Sports Radio 1400, serving Columbia at 1400, and the world on the iHeartRadio app.
Well, for Clemson Tiger fans, it was an anticipated matchup. Big Trev, the Giant Killer, Travis Etienne, heading into the Superdome, where Trevor lost his only 2 college football games as the starting quarterback, one to Ohio State, one to LSU. I think Travis Etienne went, 0 for 3 in that venue in his college career. So game 2 in the NFL for those 2 guys in terms of the preseason. Didn't go so well. Came up short again. It was ugly. Here's our question. Jacksonville start Trevor Lawrence? Look, your boy Swanee's kind of been out in front on this one too. Like, I'm on a roll. You need the lottery numbers here. Let me try this. 22, 7. I'm going to tell you. I don't think they should start him. Now, it is the preseason. So maybe I'm just overextending myself a little bit on this front. But I don't want Trevor Lawrence to spend his first season in the NFL dead. And they are atrocious. They are awful. The offensive line, Tyler Shatley, the former Clemson Tigers up front, they're bad. I think there was one point Albert Huggins, Huggy Bear, from the Orangeburg area, was chasing Trevor Lawrence out of bounds. Huggy Bear plays for the Saints. I believe that was him that I saw out there. But I got to tell you, and look, 15 minutes ago, ESPN, your boy Swanee, all over it here. Plus, this news came out as well that Travis Etienne was placed on with a season-ending injury, suffering a Lisfranc injury to his left toe that will end his season. And what's crazy about Travis Etienne being hurt is you think about how healthy he was his entire career at Clemson. It was a mild foot sprain that will likely end his season. But now with Etienne on the shelf, their offense is awful. Like, there were moments I thought, is I really thought, is Urban Meyer just pulling my leg on this? The first 2 plays were just runs right up the middle, I think, essentially. And then all of a sudden now the rookie monsters got a 3rd and 8. Yeah, that's a great way to start things so that the defense can just tee off on him. Urban Meyer told ESPN's Monday Night Crew that he had, quote, no idea what the team's offensive identity is. And again, with ETN missing the entire season, what a bummer that is across the board. But Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't play him. You gotta keep building your franchise around this kid. Tyree Ross hanging out with us says, I like the show. Keep it up. Thank you, Tyree. Appreciate you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Always good to hear from our listeners. New ones, old ones. I don't mean old ones like old listeners. Like some of you sitting around like, I've been listening to Swanee for years. I used to get him on the radio back in the day. We're still on the radio. Don't be fooled. Fire up that Victrola or whatever you got. 1400 AM in the Midlands, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. But at this point, and I've said it for weeks, don't start him. Tank it. Tank the season. Continue to build your franchise. And I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be a heck of a ball player. He made some great throws, a couple of great throws last night, rolling against his body, doing the things that you all know that we watched in high school, that we all thought he could be the first pick. He was. And I think he's got a chance to still be a very good football player, if not a great football player in the NFL. I mean, maybe one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, not this year, but at some point in his career, I think he has everything it takes to climb to that that part of the pecking order. But I don't think playing him this year, given what I've seen, and again, it's the preseason, but I got to imagine that this offense and this team is not going to look much better once the season hits. But now with your second first-round draft pick, Travis Etienne, out, why risk Trevor Lawrence? I can't give you a single reason to risk Trevor Lawrence. Not one. The question becomes, and this is the legit question you have to ask, I think, Jacksonville fans. How many games do you believe you would win if Trevor Lawrence plays every game? How many games do you believe you will win if Trevor Lawrence plays every game? Take whatever that number is, and I can assure you, if it's not 8 or more, you're not making the playoffs anyway. And this is a team that had 1 win a season ago. They went 1-15. I'm not sure that they'll scratch more than maybe 5 wins this year if they're lucky. So if 5 just happened to be the number, why would you run him out there anyway? Five is probably going to be close to being the number 1 overall pick in the draft anyhow. So why risk him? Let him mature a year. Let him count his money. Make sure his finances are in order. And get him some help so that when he does start, you guys can get 9 wins and get in the playoffs. You might be 2 seasons out, but I can't sit him for 2. But you sit him for 1, that might be the smartest move Urban Meyer could make at this point. Conserve year 1, build for the future. Don't wreck the future in this kid's shoulder or something like that for a 4-win, 5-win season.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with a new way to enjoy our beautiful planet. Energy consumption is a primary contributor to a changing climate, producing around 27% of greenhouse gases in the United States. Save money and energy at home by turning off your computer completely before you go to bed. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Group training is a fun, accountable way to get in shape. I'm Coach Stewart of Dynamic Health and Fitness. Come train with one of our special groups today. We will focus on giving you the support you need to get in shape. We use the Dynamic Mob, featuring intervals of cardio, functional training, and strength training to change your lifestyle to make you healthy. Get started today at any of our locations in Lexington or West Columbia, or call 803-408-4060 or online at dynamichealthclub.com.
A new season, a new head coach, and new hope. The Gamecocks kick off 2021 on Saturday, September 4th against Eastern Illinois. Hey, it's Christopher Thompson. WVOC's best Gamecock coverage once again gives you everything you need when it comes to Carolina football, pregame to postgame. And what better way to reach your target audience? Get your business's name into the mix with our best Gamecock coverage. We've got sponsorship opportunities available. Reach out to Andrew Burge, that's Burge, at iHeartMedia.com.
Are pet hair, dust, and allergies getting the best of you? Call the cleaning experts at Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning and breathe easy. With over 1,500 Google reviews, they're the most trusted cleaner in town. Right now, get $30 off an air duct cleaning plus 15% off lifetime filters and purifiers. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
The IRS is ramping up collection, and if you owe back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, listen carefully. Before it's too late, check your eligibility for the Fresh Start program still offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problems. Call our special hotline number now and find out in minutes if you qualify for these life-changing debt reduction programs. Business or personal, if you're in a payment plan with no end in sight, have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to know your options, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief and stop collections immediately. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau with a 5-star rating from Yelp, this veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. Call their hotline number now, 800-781-3626. That's 800-781-3626. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-781-3626 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Hey, there he is. How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand or what? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke. Are you okay? I'm having a stroke. Your face looks weird too. I'm having a stroke. Are you having a seizure or something? I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Live music is back at our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Listen every weekday to win your way to this ultimate once-in-a-lifetime experience and win $1,000.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
Let me tell you, if I see Urban Meyer running Big Trev, the Giant Killer, out there game 1.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Not at all. Don't do it. I'll hulk up on you. Protect this kid, man. Protect him. 803-450-0086. We've talked a lot about college football today. Talk some NFL. Talk some South Carolina football with Mike Yuva. Of course, we were joined in hour 1 by Jared Denny from scoopduck.com. Quack. I'm assuming that's how they say it. Like, I know when you're like Auburn fan, right? It's like War Eagle. When you're a Clemson fan, you're like, go Tigers. When you're an Alabama fan, you're like, roll Tide. When you're an Arkansas fan, it's like, woo, Pig 3. Yeah. But when you're Oregon, is that like an aggressive quack? Quack. Is it just a long quack? I mean, that's how I would do it. I mean, I'm not trying to tell these guys how to quack, but being a Swan, I know something about it. Swans honk. What kind of honk kind of thing is that? Who knows? 803-450-0086 text line, phone line. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends and neighbors. Always appreciate everybody being a part of the program and stopping by. And don't be afraid to comment. That's where we gotta grow the comments, baby. Get them up. Comment board. Let's get it out there. Again, chime in, text line. Do you think the Jacksonville should play Trevor? We're doubling down on that. I would not. Absolutely would not play him. Again, the college football campaign. We have games coming up this week. Tomorrow, Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews, will be joining the program. Looking forward to getting a chance to catch up with Brett ahead of the first weekend of college football. Things will get started at 1 o'clock Saturday on Fox. Nebraska at Illinois. Again, 1 o'clock Saturday. It's this Saturday, if you're keeping score at home. Say it with me now. College football taking place. UConn at Fresno State at 2 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network. Hawaii's at UCLA. That's a 3:30 start on ESPN. They're playing that bad boy at the Rose Bowl. UTEP's at New Mexico State at 9:30. That game's not available on TV, as I am aware. Southern Utah is at San Jose State at 10 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network. And I get a sneaky feeling that even though these games might not be, have the biggest and brightest names in the world of college football, some of you guys might be locking in on that on that Southern Utah, San Jose State 10 o'clock kickoff on the CBS Sports Network.
How dare you fill my head with such loathsome propaganda?
All right. Well, you'll at least watch Nebraska and Illinois. And I think some of you will watch Hawaii and UCLA because it is college football. I do want to know, any of you the 5 game, or any of you going to get the how many games are on 4? Anybody going to tune in and try to watch at least some of the 4? I'm not watching Southern Utah and San Jose State. I would tune in to watch it if you were paying me. Like if they're like, here's $100 if you watch it, I would watch it for that. But that's about it. Then next week, 1 week from today, or excuse me, 1 week from tomorrow, Wednesday, September the 1st, UAB at Jacksonville State, 7:30 on ESPN. So games this weekend, and then again a game midweek. And I don't know what this says about the college football campaign, if you will, but the fact that it is here and you do get a couple of Power 5 teams out there on the gridiron makes me feel fantastic. By the way, that Jacksonville State game will feature Zarek Cooper, former Clemson backup quarterback, who is still there with the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. So, again, that matchup on next Wednesday ESPN. So if you want to check in on Zarek, you can. Again, unbelievable day. Hard to believe 2 hours are in the books already. I mean, it flies by. I don't know if that's my fault or yours. I'll take half the blame. But again, we do appreciate you. And just some tough news. Out of Jacksonville as Travis Etienne was injured and is out with a season-ending, being placed on the season-ending injured reserve list. So nothing really came to fruition last night for Etienne. Numbers weren't big at all. And then not a whole lot. I didn't even give you Trevor's numbers. Maybe we'll look at some of those tomorrow. Maybe I can get them in real quick if I hustle. How much time do I got, Johnny? Swanee, you got 43 seconds. Oh, yeah. I can get you Lawrence's numbers. I had them up and then shut it down thinking we were getting out of here. But again, last night was just a tough performance all the way around for Jacksonville. I mean, it was ugly from the word go. Trevor did make a couple of plays, as I mentioned. But now with this news of Etienne, and even after watching them, even if Etienne's news didn't exist, I still don't know that playing. Trevor went 14-23, 113 yards, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. Was sacked once for 9 yards. So there you go. We got to get out of here 22 hours from now. We'll be right back with you. Make sure that you're hanging out with us here on the show that shakes the Southland. Until then, as always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports.